Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Purpose Pro podcast. This Purpose Pro podcast is all about talking about different aspects of mental health regarding high school teenagers and being able to give out information that is easily accessible for everyone. My name is Zaniya Prasla, and I am a high school student, and I want to transform our understanding of teenage mental health. Today on Broken Image, I will be interviewing Miss Hanna Steplewaska, who is now a retired board member of the Colorado Youth at Risk program. The Colorado Youth at Risk program, often referred to as CYAR, was a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting at-risk youth in Colorado. The program focuses on providing mentorship, educational support, and resources to help young people overcome challenges and achieve their full potential. They typically work with high school students who face various obstacles such as economic hardship, academic struggles, or family issues. So join me today with Ms. Steplewaska to have all your questions answered regarding being a mentor and the hardships that are faced with that, along with the struggles of being a mentee as well.
So my name is Hanna Steplewaska. I'm a aerospace professional. I've been working in aerospace for 25 years. I've done lots of other things like teaching skiing and scuba diving and motorcycle racing, and most importantly, spent some time mentoring at-risk youth in Colorado when I lived in Denver, which is how James and I got to the conversation about having a chat with you. So yeah, that's me.
All right, it's very nice to meet you. My name is Zaniya Prasla, and I am now a senior at Clements High School, and I'm really passionate about psychology, especially mental health with teenagers. So okay, so we can just hop right into the first question that I have for you, which is what inspired you to join the Colorado Youth at Risk program or build it at first? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I heard about it from friends actually who had volunteered for the organization before. And when they talked about it, they really talked about what an impact it had on the young people that were coming through the program. I, at the time, I was in my early 30s, and I really didn't feel that I had it together enough to be a mentor. So I was kind of resistant at first and said, there's no way that I can, be a mentor. But they convinced me to go to one of the community meetings, which are these monthly get-togethers. And once I saw what was happening in the room, I thought to myself, I've got to be a part of it. And that's how I got started.
Okay, so they're mostly with like younger adults. Is that right?
So the program was mostly for teens between the ages of 15 and 18. So it was those few grades in school. And the program wasn't court mandated, so it was a volunteer. The young folks would volunteer and ask to be in the program, and they would interview to be admitted into the program. But the program itself was allied with an options school in Colorado. So the public school system in Denver at the time was doing pretty badly in terms of graduation rates for high school. It was below 50% in a particular school district. And so the aim of the program was really to help these teens, stay in school, B, not get pregnant, which would obviously derail, schooling, and learn skills that would help them, succeed in whatever path they chose in life. So so that was kind of the background, and all the young people who were in the program when I was involved with it the vast majority came from African American and Latino households, and there were some Caucasian people in there too, but the common theme was these were families that were experiencing poverty and hardship in some form. So a lot of them had one or both parents in jail. A lot of them were being brought up by aunts and uncles or grandparents, or other family. They were at risk of involvement in gang violence. There was a strong gang activity in Denver at the time. And so that, those were all factors that sort of influenced them stepping forward and saying, I need help. I need help to get through school and be able to continue.
Yeah, so in trying to help these students, what are some of the biggest challenges you faced in working with them?
Oh boy. So I would categorize them as sort of internal challenges and external challenges, right? So the internal challenges were very much around self-belief, right? For me. So
Mhm.
what did I feel as a 30-year-old white woman who comes from a fairly privileged background? What could I bring into the room that would actually be useful to, these kids who had a wildly different life experience to how I grew up? Um, would I even be able to relate? Would they be able to relate to me? Could we even make a connection? So there was a lot of internal, you know, obstacles to being comfortable being in the room. And the other part was, vulnerability around, am I going to be a good mentor? Right. I'm going to be paired with somebody, for 12 months, and I get to see them every week for a couple hours. And I get to listen and, really hear from them what support they need, and work with them to provide that support. And am I going to be able to do it? Right? Am I going to let them down? Like, there was a lot of fear around that,
Mhm.
and the vulnerability around admitting that as well. That was a big deal. The external obstacles were, a lot of the youth in the program really had like their day to day of just getting to school was tough. I mean, we had, young men who would dress in black and white because those were not gang colors, and they would be constantly looking over their shoulder as they walked to and from school to see if there was a carload of gang members coming anywhere near them. And they were worried that they would either get shot on the way to school, or, they get involved in some kind of violence, and that would
Mhm.
be the day. It was something that we had no control over whatsoever. There was also, some of the parents of the youth in the program really weren't very supportive, of their children, and weren't very supportive of the program. I mean, they had to give permission for the young people to be in the program, but they didn't really follow through on being, holding the youth accountable, or being supportive and making it easier for the youth to be in the program and show up for community meetings and, time with their mentor. So I had the experience of one of my young women that I mentored, whose mom was, the opposite of supportive. She would deliberately try to, um, sabotage the times that we had set up to get together every week and things like that. So there were external, obstacles that we had to overcome. Other things, they were like, there was one young man in the program, I remember, who, um, had been, getting into a lot of trouble in school, was on the verge of being suspended, or at that point, I think, thrown out of the nth school at that point. And the mentor that was working with him realized that there was a pattern to his behavior, that every time he got into trouble, what preceded it was that he had to read something in school. And we're talking about somebody who was 16 years old, so, 2 years away from graduating high school.
Mhm.
And long story short, his mentor realized that this young man couldn't read. And that's why he acted out every time that he had to read something in front of the class. And that's how he kept getting into trouble. So some of it was, picking up where the school system had really failed the young people, and trying to find solutions for that. Some of it was external, obstacles, and some of it was internal.
Okay, so going back to talking about the internal hardships, so how, like when you were nervous about mentoring, how did you come over those hardships?
Um, so it was a couple of things. The first thing was, the gentleman who actually, well, two gentlemen who co-created the program and really were running the program when I was involved with it, were Brady Rhodes and Michael Donahue. And both of them were amazing facilitators. Michael Donahue, in particular, he has a lot of experience in psychology and leadership and facilitation in particular. And he walked into the room. I remember one time when we were starting a program with a new class, an entering class of young people, and everyone's sitting there in their chairs, and there's all this attitude, and there's a whole bunch of white folks walk in and who are 25 years older than they are, and everyone's like, what are these people going to tell me about my life, right? And Michael just walked into the middle of the room, and he's like, hey, everyone eyes on me, got everybody's attention. He's like, hey, you're looking at me, you're thinking, what's this old white dude gonna tell you that you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So his approach was very much name the thing, name the thing that's happening in the room right at the moment. Don't dance around it. Don't try to pretend that it's not there, because the moment you start doing that is the moment you lose credibility with any teen, right? With any young person, you have to just be brutally honest in every moment. And so he really taught us in the mentor training, because they trained us how to be good mentors for our youth. Part of that training was like, be brutally honest. Like, if you're scared about being a mentor, like tell them that you're scared. Tell them that you don't, there are things you don't know how to do, and tell them that you're doing your best and you're trying to figure it out. And whatever they're dealing with, you'll try and you do your best to help them, think their way through it and figure it out. Don't hide it. Don't try to pretend that right? That was the lesson number one. And the other thing was that really, it wasn't our role as mentors to have all the answers or to fix the problem or to figure out what the solution is. Our role as mentors was to help the thought process, to listen to our young people and hear from them what the problem is, not project what we think the problem is onto them, and just help them think their way through it, help them deduce how they want to deal with it, help them decide what the next path is, not suggest what the path is, not tell them what the path is. And that shifted a lot of the fear away, because it was really like, I'm not the one solving the issue. The young person I'm working with is going to solve the issue. I'm just there to help sort of clarify their thinking and maybe point out things they hadn't thought about.
That makes sense. Okay, so when a student isn't willing to fix or listen, or I'm pretty sure you've probably came across a bunch of students like that. How did you go about that?
There's no one size fits all, right?
Yeah.
With every individual, because there's so many different drivers to, why somebody is, set in their ways, or they've decided that they want a certain, path. And the most important thing always was, if the young person has decided on a course of action, be supportive as much as you can. If you have concerns about the point of that course of action, point them out. Just like, again, be brutally honest. Like, you've decided that you're going to do this. I just want you to be aware, like, here are the third and fourth order consequences that may happen, just so you're aware. But it's make your choices, and I'm still going to be there. Even if you mess up, I'm still going to be here, and I'm still going to be your mentor, and I've still got your back. And that was the most important thing, because the youth in the program typically did not have an adult in their life who was there for them no matter what. When they messed up, they got into trouble, the adults would disappear, or they would, lose the support of their community. And so we were really modeling for the people in the program what it's like to have an adult in their life who is there even when you mess up, especially when you mess up, and who's not there to place blame or make you feel worse or punish, who's there to say, okay, what do we learn? How do we move forward from here? And that was something that time and again in exit interviews out of the program, that was the feedback that we got from the young folks in the program, was like, this was the first time I had an adult who said they were going to be there and actually was.
Oh, okay. That's good. So how did you address and adapt to the changing needs and like pressures faced by teenagers today? Because since our world changes so much, all these new things come to play. So how do you go about that?
You know, when I think about, the world that teens are growing up in today, like we didn't have social media it didn't even exist when I was a teenager, right? I messed up and it didn't live on the internet forever, right? It's so wildly different to my experience as a teen, and it's changing so quickly from year to year that the only way that we as mentors can have any chance of having a youth feel supported and heard is to listen to them, is to really hear from them that what is their experience today in their day-to-day life. And I think where Colorado Youth at Risk did a really good job of this was we would actually bring the whole community together once a month. So I would meet every mentor would meet with their young person for 2 hours a week minimum. It could be more, but it was a minimum of 2 hours a week. And then once a month, the whole community got together. So it was typically sort of 45 to 60 young people and their mentors. So you had 80, 90 people in the room. And we would, as a community, talk about what was up, what was happening, what are the things that everyone's dealing with. And that, I think that community conversation around, and that conversation was led by the young people, around like, this is what's up for me this week, this in the last few weeks, this is what I've been dealing with. And it was everything from, the uncle that I was living with went to jail and I don't have anywhere to live, right? To, I'm failing all my classes and I really don't want to get thrown out of school, but I don't know how to fix it, right? And a whole gamut of different issues. I'm being like bullying was a huge thing. And so it was really about listening to what the youth brought up in those community conversations as like, this is what's in front of me right now, and being willing to have a very open mind, have a very what's the word I'm looking for? Not conciliatory, but very willing approach to finding different solutions that we may not have thought of. So really getting the teens to think through and suggest to each other what the solutions might be. So one of the underlying rules that we had for those community meetings was that it was the young people that created the rules in the room. And we did that at the very beginning when we did the kickoff for the program. We had a whiteboard and pens and paper, and we had the young folks get up and write out the rules. Like, these are the norms of behavior that the whole group agrees with. And we had everybody agree what they were, and we had everybody out loud commit that they were going to live by those rules. And so when it came to those discussions of like, this is what's up for me, this is what I'm dealing with, it was actually the young people that held each other accountable as they were working through solutions and making and suggesting things and so on. If somebody stepped outside the rules, it was the young folks who held each other accountable. And that was beautiful to see that community problem solving happen.
So whenever that community gets together, is it one mentor and one mentee, or are there multiple mentees for one mentor?
No, so in that program, it was deliberately done. So it was one mentor and one mentee throughout the program. So you were paired with one mentee for 12 months.
Okay. And also, usually all these mentor programs happen online. I feel like this is the first one I've heard that is done. Does it do everything in person?
Yeah, so we had so when we started when I joined the program, there was a mentor training. And I became a mentor trainer because I was involved with the program for many years. But so we would actually spend, I think it was like 4 or 5 sessions of a few hours with the mentors before the program even started, teaching them how to be mentors, like giving them, just building up their skill set of, conflict resolution and, empathetic listening and all of the skills that you need. And then for Colorado Youth at Risk, it was 2 hours every week with your
Mhm.
mentee one-on-one in person. And then the community meetings were like 3 hour evening things, like once a month. And that was all in person.
Okay, so do you think that if this program was done online, like the rest of the other programs, would it have gone differently?
Um, I don't think it would have had as much impact, honestly.
Really?
Because when I think about my experience with my mentees, um, it was just, walking down the street together and just talking as we walked and stopping to get you know, a bubble tea and, you know, just seeing how they were moving through the world just on a weekly basis ma- told me so much more about what was happening in their life than just a conversation would. And the physical act of me showing up on the doorstep at the appointed time at one of my mentees' houses, at the end of the program, I remember her saying, like, no one's ever done that. Like, no one's ever been so consistent that whenever they said they would show up on my doorstep, they were there. And there were a few times when, she wasn't there. Like, she blew me off, right? And then she realized that when I said I'm going to be there, that meant I'm going to be there, and she couldn't get away with just not showing up. So it was, I think that there's the act of how you are in the world, um, that is both instructive and uh, very filled with information
Mhm.
that you get otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. I see how like in person probably impacts more because you get to create that bond rather than online and just joining a meeting, knowing that the other person could simply just not join it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you also have to be more present, I think,
Yes.
when in person. Like it's easy to kind of zone out on a Zoom and not really pay attention.
Oh
uh,
yeah, and definitely.
mhm.
So you had mentioned that you've been doing this for a couple of years now. So what had inspired you the first time you had joined to keep coming back and volunteering?
Oh, you know, it this is a somewhat something of a cliche when people talk about the volunteering that they do, right? That you go into it thinking that you're going to bring so much to the experience, and you end up getting so much out of the experience.
Uh-huh.
That's what brings you back. For me, I mean, as cliched as it sounds, I grew just as much as my mentee did in that year. She challenged me, in ways that I didn't expect. And she called me on my shit. Excuse me. I don't know. Sorry. She called me on my stuff. Um, she totally did. She held my feet to the fire. Like the moment I waffled or the moment I, tried to get all, I'm 30 something and I know what I'm doing on her. She called me on it right then and there. As much as I could, called her on her stuff too and, held her accountable. So it was very much a two-way street, um, with each of my mentees. And that's what kept me coming back. I'm like, this is not like me coming in as as the savior lady. No, this is very much a two-way thing. Um, and it was as much as there were moments that were tough, and there were moments that were frustrating, and there were moments that were scary. Um, it was incredibly rewarding, and to see an entire group of youth move through the program and not have a single one drop out and not have a single one fail school or get pregnant, and have everybody finish and move on and a year or two later finish high school, graduate, you know get either go off to college or start their trade, their career, whatever it is. um just, yeah, super rewarding. So that's what kept bringing me back. And I was there as a mentor for a few years, then a mentor trainer, and then I was on the board of directors of the organization for a few years.
Okay. So through all like the rough, the scary, and the bad, what do you think, or what ways do you think you grew like the most from mentoring, and what aspects did you grow?
Hmm. Gosh, you ask really good questions. um I think there was definitely an aspect of sort of trusting my gut, like really, like my gut said something was up, like even if my mentee was saying one thing, my gut was saying, I don't think that's it, or I'm not getting the full story here. Um, Definitely, more than once I was like, I think let's talk about this some more, and we really, we got through a layer of conversation and then really dropped down into, okay, this is what's really up. So that was one thing. Definitely the humility of not having all the answers and not being like I'm the wise adult and in this relationship. um and frankly getting taken down a peg or two on that front was a good learning. But also seeing the community the community of young people come together and problem solve their own the issues for each other, and seeing how, despite like the some frankly for some of them just awful living conditions, stress, day-to-day stress that would put any well-adjusted adult down, right? And seeing them just troubleshoot that and find their way through that and stay in school and get grades up and so on was unbelievably inspiring.
Oh, okay. So, I had a question on how it was like determined when a student was like done with the program. Is it when their high school career is over?
So the program was 12 months long,
Mhm.
typically. And so that, they would graduate out of the program. We did have some youth that actually came back for the next year. So they could come back for the program as many times as they wanted. We never said no to youth if they wanted to be in the program, and they committed to, agree to the community guidelines and, show up to all the mentor meetings, etc. Um, so there really, like, there was no way, there was no sort of end point once up to high school graduation. Once they graduated high school, the program only worked with high school students, but
Mhm.
we were partnered with another organization that helped particularly first gen college students with how to do college, like how to stay in school, and money and grants and funding and all of those things, because that's exponentially harder when you don't have a good family support network. And particularly if you're the first of your family to go to college and there's nobody who's had that experience, you've got nobody to turn to. And particularly if there's, if the family is, at or near the poverty line, and all these things compound, and make it much harder for students like that to get through college if that's what they chose. So there was another organization that kind of picked up the reins, post
Mhm.
high school, and helped them keep going.
Oh, okay, that's neat. So like once if they're done graduated, they just go on to like the program that you guys are partnered with. It's
Hmm.
neat.
Yeah, yeah.
So how did you engage with local communities and build partnerships to support your mission?
So the Colorado Youth at Risk team did a really good job of spreading the word within the public school system,
Mhm.
uh, and they allied with actually the two worst performing schools in the Denver public school system. Like that was where the program was based. And by worst performing, what I mean is one of the schools was kind of where all the quote, and I use this very much in air quotes, the problem kids were sent to, the kids that had,
Oh.
been failed out of other schools because he had gotten into trouble that many times. Um, and what it actually meant was that there was an underlying issue that was either, living arrangements at home, or like, learning challenges, like the young man who couldn't read, that hadn't been addressed for whatever reason, right? That was usually the thing. Um, and so that was where the word was spread about the program for the youth. Um, and a lot of the youth that were in the program, frankly, became our biggest, cheerleaders and the biggest source of, new youth coming into the program, because everyone could see that they were succeeding in school. They had, a little bit more stability. They had a different mindset. We did a lot of work with the youth around um, not allowing their current circumstances decide their future path. And so their peers noticed a shift in thinking and a shift in how the youth were talking about the current situation and talking about their goals for the future and achieving them. And so just their friends would see the change, right? They would see, oh, like this works, like this program really has an effect. And so that became a huge recruitment tool for us. For the mentors, Youth at Risk did a number of things. So there was a fundraising breakfast once a year that was, a traditional sort of, pay for your plate, for your table and your plate. And we would always invite, donors and business people and so on. And then the mentors themselves, it was part of our job was to find other mentors all the time. And so that was actually really easy because, well, it wasn't easy to convince people to be mentors because everybody had that obstacle of, I don't know that I'm qualified to do this. But it was easy to talk about Youth at Risk because Colorado Youth at Risk, because of how much we got from being in the program. So we were always enthused to talk about it. And so spreading the word became really easy, just because it was such a great experience.
So I know that every program wants to grow. So how did the program like gather feedback from teenagers or the communities that the program served, and how did they incorporate it back into the program?
I'm trying to remember. So at the community, the once a month community meetings, there was always somebody who was, or there was, I remember there would be one of those post-it whiteboard, big post-it pad things. And anything that was brought up that was very obviously like, this is something that needs to change, or this is something, that we need to pay attention to, was written, for everybody to see. Like, these are things that we need to address in the program. So we made that very explicit, and we made that very visible to the youth and to the mentors that these are the things we need to change, or have happen. I know that there was always an interview at the beginning of the program, an interview at the end of the program that gave feedback from both the youth and the mentors that would go into planning of the next cycle of the program. So those were like the two primary avenues of how we got feedback.
Okay, so in what areas do you feel like there's room for growth or any improvement within like the program itself?
So the program, I was involved with it quite a while ago, and the program's still going. So Colorado Youth at Risk is still, if you look them up online, they're still there. They're doing great work. They've, grown and changed. I think I can't speak to the program today. When I was involved with it, Michael and Brady did a really great job of making sure that the program evolved with every iteration based on the feedback from the youth. Because, like you said to your earlier question, like what are the issues that youth today are dealing with? Everything's changing so quickly. It couldn't be a static program. Like, it was never designed to be like a cookie cutter. This is what we do in the year, and this is how it works, right? Because you can't, like, things change too quickly. So it was always very fluid. I think it probably just like getting more coverage, and get NPR to talk about the program, get, a louder voice in the media about the program so that it grows, and is heard of by more youth, and so that more programs like it can exist, because it really changed life outcomes for a whole cadre of young people.
So for my last question, do you have any advice for those who want to be a mentor or either want to be mentored?
For those who want to be a mentor, do it. Just do it. Don't question it. Like, make sure the organization that you're going to be mentoring with provides you with some training, because there are some skill sets that that are necessary, but they're all trainable. They're all teachable. So yeah, just don't hesitate. Just jump in and do it. You can make a huge difference in somebody's life, and you could literally be the only adult in their life that is consistent and holds them accountable and models behavior that for some of the youth, it was just life skills of, like, how do you plan out your homework if you know that you have assignments due on certain days? Like, how do you plan out your time to make sure that you get them all done on time, right? just life skills like that. How do you balance a checkbook? How do you, well, wow, I'm aging myself now. How do you keep track of your money? You know, things like that. So yeah, for the mentors, don't hesitate. Just jump in and do it with humility and listen to your mentee, because they will tell you what they need. For the mentees, I would say don't judge a book by its cover. Your mentor may not look like you. They may not sound like you. They may have had a wildly different life experience to you. But if they are willing to listen to you and really and you're willing to have an honest conversation and really like tell them what's up, you'll be amazed at how much they can help you think through what's in front of you and see and get to clarity on what you want to do.
All right. Thank you so much for your advice and your time. And it was a pleasure to meet you and hear and talk about the Colorado Risk Program.
Pleasure's all mine, and thank you so much. These were great questions. You did an awesome job, and yeah, this is really fun.
Thank you. I enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you learned all about the Colorado Youth at Risk program and also about the hardships of mentoring. Today, we discussed the different aspects of mentoring when it comes down to connecting with the mentee, understanding their situations, showing empathy, and having an open mind. Many hurdles will come along as a mentor, but as Miss Hanna Steplewaska said, just do it and try, because you will never know till you try. Mentoring does not only change the lives of those in need, but also changes the lives of those who teach by empowering them with a strong skill set. If you have any questions regarding mentoring or being a mentee that you want answered, or any concerns at all, please email me at mentalhealthimage@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you on the next episode. Bye.